our art that we made.
Wait.
Okay. Well.
There.
Okay.
Okay.
So we decided for the unknown citizen that we would draw the shadow of a man. We drew his leg over here in the corner, but it doesn't really matter what he looks like, his individual characteristics, because all we really need to see is his basic outline, the shape.
And we did that because we felt the unknown citizen effectively does that. It is paying attention to the most general, basic silhouette of a person by just using data and statistics, and it's not paying attention to this colorful, the actual person, the color in his life. It's just got the straight black and white and the boring.
So basically what we're trying to display is that this person down here has personality, he has a life, he has emotions, and he does his own thing, but all we see through the eulogy of the government's perfect person is an outline. It doesn't matter if he's happy or sad or however he feels, we see his outline. He has everything he needs to be happy, so of course we're going to assume he has a smile on his face.
Yep. So the unknown citizen, the poem is a eulogy that is written on a plaque that is dedicated to this marble statue, this monument that is meant for the unknown citizen, kind of like the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. It's dedicated to someone unknown, and in this case, who is completely average and acceptable in every way to the government.
So the unknown citizen basically satirizes the government by creating an anonymous citizen who does everything right. He has all the perfect statistics, he has all the right materialistic objects, and since it's written from a government personnel or from the speaker as a government personnel, it's basically saying, this is exactly what the government wants out of its citizens. Of course he's happy, he has everything, why would he not be happy? Okay, so the author of the poem, W.H. Auden, moved to America in 1939. He was an Englishman, and later in 1939 is whenever he actually wrote The Unknown Citizen. And we can definitely see that The Unknown Citizen is a result of the culture shock of moving to America, because in 1939, consumerism and chaos, everything was just booming.
Yeah, so he writes this from a perspective of a bureaucrat, and not from a perspective of an observer of what he is, a foreigner that comes and is newly seeing all this stuff. And he writes it from a bureaucrat's perspective because he wants to highlight the way that the government is analyzing its citizens and the way that the government is trying to get the citizens to try to set ideals for themselves. And he's kind of just bringing it up like, hey, here's this, I've seen this is really weird, why are you doing it? And then he publishes it.
Boom. When analyzing a poem, it's always important to look at the title, which this one is obviously The Unknown Citizen. And by looking at the title, we can see that it alludes to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Now, because it alludes to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier is, in brief summary, just a big sign of respect for all the soldiers that they can't identify or go missing in action. It uses this kind of as a contrast, and so it's supposed to put a very serious note on the idea of this big marble statue that has gone up for this average Joe, this random citizen who has done nothing special in his life. He's literally your average Joe. The only thing that's special about him is that he fit perfectly into all of the data and statistics and the political views, everything the government wanted of him at the time they wanted it of him.
Auden compares the unknown citizen to the unknown soldier because the unknown soldier is something that Americans and the government places a lot of praise on. So by comparing it to the unknown citizen, he's saying that the government places a lot of praise on the unknown citizen, the anonymous citizen who has the perfect statistics, the perfect materialistic objects to be happy and to do the right thing.
And so by doing this, the Auden is ridiculing the government for how it's viewing its citizens and how it's setting its ideals for what its citizens should be like, and how it's trying to get the citizens to set their own ideals for how they should be. And so it's not really looking at who they are, it's looking at how they would be useful to the government and how the government would want them to be. And that is not something near as respectful as someone going out and dying anonymously for their country and for something that they believe in.
Throughout the poem, a major theme is passivity. Basically, everything this unknown, perfect citizen does, he's passive.
When there's war, he goes to war. When there's peace, he wants peace.
He never has the problem. He always stays at the same job, and he satisfies his bosses.
He keeps the same opinion in politics as everyone around him.
He never interferes with his children's schooling.
And he has the right number of kids for his generation. Essentially, he has nothing that would make him abnormal or strange.
His reactions to advertisements are as they should be, normal.
Just like everybody else's. Nothing that makes him abnormal or strange. He is either extremely passive about the way he lives his life, or really happy with being completely average.
He just loves being average.
We hope.
Because that's what the government loves.
That's what they hope he loves, too.
Go America.
Yay.
Another theme that's prevalent in The Unknown Citizen is patriotism.
And so there's two sides to the spectrum of patriotism. There's one side where people are very precise and my country right or wrong, agree completely with whatever the country's doing and sides with its views and everything. And the other side is taking your own stance, your own ideas on things and arguing for them and maybe even disagreeing with the government sometimes if that winds up being the case. And this poem, the poem in entirety winds up taking a stance on the latter side, where it's saying that completely conforming with the government is not a good thing, that you want to be your own individual and be your own person, a fully defined person, and not just defined by the statistics and data that the government and the bureaucracy defines you as.
And now for some manipulation.
Manipulation! Okay. So, basically, the use of the statue as having the eulogy is just a big piece of manipulation. It's just a large, big old statue of propaganda for the government. They're basically just saying to citizens that if you go with the flow, don't cause any issues for the government, then you can have a big, nice, shiny statue of yourself someday.
Yeah, they're trying to adjust the views of the average person and trying to make their ideals, what they want to become and be, something more agreeable and easy for the government to handle. They don't want people having opposing views or causing a whole lot of problems, not having health insurance. It's being different. Different's bad.
So basically, Auden is commenting on this fact and saying, no.
He's saying that people should
That's
be
not
different,
right.
that they shouldn't be held up to a set of ideals that the government wants, because the way that the government wants things isn't a healthy way for people to be.
There you have it, folks. And now for identity.
So the last thing we're going to touch on is identity, and this is pretty big in the fact that the unknown citizen, by definition of his name, has no identity. Now he's not a scab or different in his views. He's found by the Bureau of Statistics to be one against whom there's no official complaint. He's been in the hospital once but left it cured. You know, all this average stuff that doesn't separate him.
He basically just hangs out in the middle. He's your average Joe. He's like a lot of Americans. He doesn't have extremes in any of his viewpoints. He's just in the middle.
Yeah, so he doesn't stand out. There is nothing of which to identify him from the masses.
So basically what Auden is trying to say is, by satirizing that average American who doesn't stand out, he's saying that people need to take a stand and be individuals.
They need to have their own ideas and express themselves and be an individual, something different, and not this cold-cut copy of everyone around them.
Which basically goes with the consumerism and chaos of the time, of everyone trying to have the same new appliances and be the same person
Falling subject to the manipulation.
of the government.
Yep.
Yep. So now you should understand what Auden is trying to say through his satirization. Basically, you should stand out. You should be your own individual. You shouldn't fall into that middle place where you have none of your own opinions.
You should have your own ideas, speak up for yourself, have something different than the person next to you and your neighbor. And you shouldn't stand underneath the spotlight of the government.
Thanks.